Well, welcome. This is John Marshall with Home ASAP. I'm the president and CEO, and with me today is James Sparkman, who's our director of sales and marketing. And our guest for today's discussion is Shawn Rogers, who is with a realtor at West USA Realty in the Phoenix, Arizona marketplace. Good afternoon, Shawn, and thank you so much for spending time with us today to share your thoughts and what you're seeing out there in the marketplace under the current COVID-19 pandemic situation. We've talked to a number of agents, we serve agents all over the country, and we're always anxious to hear how you folks in the field are addressing it and able to continue your business. And just by way of introduction, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your firm and what you do there in Phoenix.
Sure, no problem. Thank you, gentlemen, for all you do. Home ASAP has been a backbone of our, lead gen, and much appreciative of all your support over the years. As far as, I'll go as brief as possible, but I've been in and around real estate for about 30 years now, ever since I've been about 17. I'll be 52 in July, so there's the math. I'm with a firm called West USA Realty. I consider them family. Been with them since the inception of me relocating from New York to Arizona, and that's been about 15 or 16 years now. I am currently a team lead, so that's to say I'm not so much in the field per se anymore, but I definitely have hands-on operations of everything that goes on, from the leads to the contracts to marketing and advertising for the Mr. Rogers Homes team. I think currently we have about 20 to 25 agents and then staff behind that. I'm not sure how familiar anybody would be listening, but a snapshot is we cover the Phoenix area. To break that down a little bit more, it would be the Southeast Valley, the West Valley, and then Central Phoenix, with capabilities of going more north, which would be towards the snow, Flagstaff, or more towards the border, which would be Tucson area, Yuma. But that in a snapshot is what we do, and we encompass every part of real estate: buying, selling, renting, investing, property management, overall just helping out a client with whatever their needs. And we specialize as well, John, but I don't want to bore you to death with that, other than relos, luxury, rentals, et cetera, et cetera.
That's terrific. Well, you've certainly got a comprehensive business with great scale in that vibrant marketplace. So why don't we just cut to the quick and just let us know what you're seeing today in terms of your business and how it's been impacted by the current pandemic. And we can talk about what you're doing to carry on your business, but just give us kind of a synopsis of what you're seeing today and how does it impact your business.
Sure. And I'll say from the bottom of my heart, I believe it's all about helping people in the time of need, especially now with what's going on. Ironically and truthfully, it seems that we have been busier since the pandemic has taken place and has escalated to where it is now. That doesn't always necessarily mean good or bad, but one of the sayings I always try to get out there: every boxer has a plan until he's hit. And in this particular instance, it seems like, well, I guess the country, the world has been hit. So I guess how we adjust, John, or how we've been adjusting, is maybe just utilize different tools within our reach to help people out. Meaning that a lot more agents seem to be doing virtual tours, virtual showings, virtual listings. Those are all, well, not forever, but they've been available for a while, just not always, maybe not in the majority, because it was easier to show properties physically.
Right. So
That's great.
Along those lines of the virtual tours you mentioned, and I'm sure you've seen a pretty big uptick in demand for those things, and a lot of people having to go through agents now to kind of gain access to properties. With that uptick in demand, what changes have you had to make to your business to accommodate that?
Great question. Traditionally, again, and then if the property, and I'll start with buyers, if the property is vacant, we pretty much have access, come and going as we please. So if it's owner occupied, traditionally said sellers will let us, come and go at will as they'd like to get their property under contract. Currently, a little bit of an adjustment is if it's tenant occupied. Many of them aren't, for lack of a better word, keen on letting anybody in currently. So those are the little bit more trickier, taking to another level of expertise. But the majority of them are either vacant or owner occupied. So really what it comes down to, James, is for us to give a proper expectation of a showing day and time and make sure everybody's on page for that appointment.
Gotcha. And kind of with all these changes and everyone, having to stay at home or start conducting business virtually, what role has social media played in your business during this time?
Great question. And again, as long as I've been in the business, the internet kind of came about. And I believe with most anything, you have to adapt your business to your business model or plan. So we've been using, or my team and I have been using the internet, social media, the best we can for as long as I guess it's been out. But currently, we try to adjust the data, the information that we give. For example, based on your last question, virtual tours are available. And perhaps in the past, those tours were more geared toward relocating people who weren't ready quite yet to move here or knew the job transfer was down the road. Whereas now, James, a lot of the people, the virtual tour could be somebody that wants to move from one city of Arizona to another city of Arizona, but based on health issues, rules and regulations and guidelines laid down by the ADRE, the Arizona Department of Real Estate, and just local rules and regulations, we offer the tour for them virtually, where we, as an essential business, as agents who are still deemed that, can do the tour for them, taking note of what would be important to them. And we utilize social media to get that point across that although you may not want to or have the capability to virtually tour houses, we can do that for you and have been. We just adjust the data that goes into the tour.
And have you seen any uptick in the results you're getting from things like Facebook advertising, which is obviously kind of like our area of expertise? What we've seen is a lot of uptick in usage of Facebook, which is translating to better results from things like the advertising. So I'm curious to see if you guys have seen that as well.
Well, one thing, your firm is excellent with not only customer service, but with giving us the data and back information that we would need. I try to dive into it. By no means am I the professionals like you are, but I agree. The amount of, I guess, what I'm capable of seeing, the views and the clicks and the saves, I see those have gone up. And I believe that has a lot to do with, maybe more people are spending time on the internet surfing, and maybe they, or maybe the social media has also put the word out there that this is now a tool that everybody can take advantage of.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of key decision makers are now kind of trapped in their own homes, and where they weren't really using Facebook before, I think we're seeing a lot of those people using it now. So we're kind of even getting better quality in terms of the traffic.
Agreed.
Advertising.
Agreed. Yep.
So I'd be interested to know, Shawn, in terms of actual closings now, because you can still show homes and start the process, but how have you seen closings get done in your market? Every market's a little different in how the lenders are able to do remote closings, and then of course the county courthouses and recording and the title companies. What are you seeing in your market in terms of actually getting deals closed?
John, that's a great question, and kudos again. Not so much a plug, but my team's out there doing what they do. And traditionally, again, pandemic aside, every transaction, although it has its fundamentals, there's always going to be differences within that transaction. And right now, as you stated, lenders have given us, are doing their best to give us a heads up on some of the rules and regulations that are affecting them, which would affect us. So again, what we try to be, as always, is very transparent to the client, especially the sellers if we're representing buyers, that although our client is qualified and here's the proper documentation, it may take a little bit longer just based on what is actually occurring out there in the market. and we would do our best to keep them in the proverbial loop, and would respect and expect the same from them, from their point of view, to make that transaction go smooth. And without beating the dead horse, gentlemen, I always say the word teamwork. It's kind of just all over my office walls. But the team, you're part of the team, I consider. The agents that we don't know who are representing their clients will be part of the team in a certain transaction. And over the years, it all comes together where at that particular moment in time, everybody has a common goal. And if they have that mindset in mind, then we accomplish that goal.
That's great. That's great. So in that light, and given that you're in a unique market in some ways, certainly has been a very vibrant market in the Phoenix area. But if you could maybe extrapolate a little bit and suggest agents in other markets, what could they do to be as successful as apparently you have been, even through these quickly changing times? What have you found, or what could you share as being some of the success factors or actions that agents could take in their market to keep their business rolling forward? Specifically, what would you recommend so that they can survive and thrive as apparently you've been in your market?
Great question. John, and I joke around about it, but I guess giving the best information I can to truly help everybody. Another little saying I use frequently is nobody escapes the grind. And what I mean by that is good times, bad times, life or real estate is all about smiles and frowns, ebbs and flows. And it's been said many times, just get up one more time than you've been knocked down, and you should be fine in the industry you're in. But specifically speaking about our profession and the market we're currently in, if in fact you're not permitted to go out now, let's say showing homes, listing homes, what I would recommend is look at your game plan. Let's back that up. Formulate your game plan if you don't have one. If you do have a game plan, maybe adjust it. And what I mean by that is we always hear farming, sphere of influence, circle of influence. One thing that agents can do if they're quote unquote landlocked in their houses is perhaps go through their client list, send a just hello text message, email, phone call, maybe just to catch up, see how things are going, and take it from there. You would be surprised, again, pandemic or not, just reaching out to see how your clients are doing sparks an initial thought process of what their housing requirements may need or may start.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a great point because a lot of consumers and homeowners may not know that you're still in business. I mean, we've heard that from agents all over the country that they're still in business and they're finding ways to keep business moving. That housing's a fundamental need, as you said. It's a necessity. Things happen. We were talking to an agent in the Detroit market who was helping, had a listing, and a relocation was coming out of New York, and they needed to find they had a job starting, pandemic notwithstanding, and they needed to find a home, and they did it virtually and did a virtual walkthrough and kept that deal moving forward and being very creative in doing it. So I think that your words of wisdom is, and you've been through, I mean, Phoenix has not always been sunny days. I mean, it's had its big up and downs. In 2008, it was one of the really overbuilt markets that really crashed hard in that time frame. So you've seen good and bad times, and I think that's a testament. Agents that have had the experience know how to pivot, know how to reprioritize and revise their game plan to be successful. And this time is no different. And I'm hoping, as I'm sure you do, that this is not a long-term new normal, but this is going to be something that will bounce back and we'll be able to get back to business somewhat as usual. But I think James would like to ask you a question about that because, with this, anytime you have a big disruption, sometimes things change permanently based on how people learn to do business in a new way.
Right.
Agreed.
So, when business does finally get back to normal, do you foresee a lot of these changes, like obviously the the uptick in doing virtual tours, even virtual open houses, but even on the consumer side, just doing more transactions kind of sight unseen, or at least physically unseen. Is that something that you think is going to kind of continue as a trend even after they have more access to properties once again?
James, great question. What I think, and I kind of go backwards a little bit to answer that question, because it's ironic when I'm asked that question traditionally when something occurs, and going back to what John said, you know, being in the market as long, or the business as long as I have, I've seen the markets up and down, crashes and good times and bad times. So specifically pointing in on this, I do believe that all changes, for good or bad, create opportunities. And in that opportunity comes a lot of, you could either move forward, move backwards, or stay neutral based on your game plan. But for me and our team personally, I see a lot of excellent opportunities in something that dark cloud has come over us. The umbrella has been invented. And
Right.
moving forward with our strategy, although we've used virtual tours, there's going to be a lot of, you know, maybe move it a little bit forward, maybe help. If it's all about time and money, and one thing I wanted to go back to, John, is, you know, in our business, it's not always walk into the sneaker store, try on 4 or 5 pairs and walk out. There are people, again, pandemic or not, that start shopping now and have no true intention, and disclose it up front to us that they're not ready to retire for 2, 3, 4 years, or their children aren't moving to Arizona to go to college for a couple of years, but they want to start the plan now, just like many people start a 401k when they're 18, 19, 20 years old, not maybe understanding the whole compass of it, but do understanding it's really not going to truly benefit them for decades down the road. So tying that back into James' question and yours, John, I think that a lot of those skills were, for lack of a better word, being forced to come up with, create, and alter now, absolutely would be used in the future. Virtual tour, again, we've used those traditionally to measure the closet or video the closet for Mrs. Smith, or how big the garage is for Mr. Jones' truck. But maybe now it's a full-blown, you know, 45-minute tour of the house, and if you want us to crawl through the attic with the spotlight on our heads, so be it. That's what ultimate customer service is anyways, taking care of a client.
Right, right. Yeah, sometimes what you find is, and this is sort of the ultimate disruption, you always hear about, you know, disruptions in the industry. One disruption that kind of did it was put in reverse was the whole iBuyer situation, which Phoenix was a big market for that, and they've all, you know, closed up shop at least temporarily in terms of buying homes. Briefly comment on that, because I think that was the disruptors themselves got disrupted with this market shift.
Excellent question. And you know, when that first came out, John, and always being of the truth, sure, you get rattled. I was in the ring and I got punched. It kind of took me for a little bit of a loop, but again, went back to our game plan, had the war, we put together the war council, and I always go about business with, you can get more flies from sugar than vinegar. And I just kind of dissected what they offered and what we offered. And again, truth be told, and I hope this does help other agents, maybe they're not familiar with iBuyers yet, maybe they will be, but what they offered, and again, they are on temporary disconnect, they're currently not buying any properties, and I believe they could be exercising their rights to cancel contracts with the clients that they had. But moving forward to that is, for some people, the cost of convenience is worth the price of admission. What I do at a listing appointment, or when I ask the team to go out and do their listing appointments, is let's not, for lack of a better word, let's bring that elephant in the middle of the living room and let's explain, here's how we traditional agents work smart for you. This is the process we go through with the listing, and ultimately we want you to be happy. Most of the time is to sell for as much money as fast as possible. But let's also say that if you wanted to go the route of iBuyers, let us, for lack of a better word, get those quotes for you. We know how to do a generic description of your property, or a specific, take a certain amount of photos, give a snapshot of what your property is worth. We can upload those to the top 3 or 4 iBuyers. we can get those cash offers back to you. And if that number, that price, and that time frame fits your needs, that's again ultimate customer service. Traditionally, what we found is after, and again, no disrespect to an iBuyer, they've been around in different forms and fashions for years. But if a client sees that dollar amount or percentage of sale going not in their pocket, traditionally, quickly, they'd like to go the traditional route.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's what we've seen in most cases. The haircut, particularly if measured against the homeowner's equity and not against the total price, it's a huge percentage of the equity that they've earned and accrued in their home. So typically, the cost of that for a month or two marketing with a skillful agent managing the process, it's a very high cost to pay for a very for a time-based short sale, basically. So, well, that's interesting, but we'll see what happens with them when the market stabilizes. But I think that they've had to take a licking, and at the end of the day, a professional real estate agent is always going to be available to properly market that in whatever aggressive pricing the client needs to sell in a time frame that they have. So, and usually an experienced real estate agent like you and your team and your market would know where those thresholds are in terms of price to time on market.
One thing I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
One thing I'd like to add, which I think will definitely help out agents out there, a little tidbit of information is when they're at a listing appointment and they go through a traditional listing procedure, I recommend again bringing up the iBuyer opportunity and how they structure theirs. And I can't speak for every agent, but one monster advantage when you get to a certain level, and our team is blessed to be in this position, is should that particular seller be intrigued or believe that after doing their fact checking, the iBuyer route is better for them, my team and I have the option of moving forward as the proverbial iBuyer. So you have that option to become the purchaser of the property as long as you disclose, again, how the procedure works. One being I work for you, and one being I'm buying your property at a given price for the benefit of a profit after you moved out. As long as you explain both ends of it, you, if in position, could be the person that buys that property and puts it back on the market, similar to what an iBuyer would be.
Right, right. And that kind of goes back to, as you say, sometimes adversity or market change creates opportunity for creative thinking and creative action. And that's certainly there were a lot of millionaires created as a result of the 2008 crash because they jumped in and saw opportunity to take advantage of the market and created liquidity and created opportunities, shifted into property management, did many things to take advantage, sell REO properties. So hopefully we won't see that today. It looks like the government is going to be helping homeowners avoid those situations on a short-term basis, which is a great policy. But but for those persons that still need housing, I think that interest rates are still very favorable, and there's still an opportunity for home buyers to find the property they need. So we're very thankful for folks like yourself, Shawn, and the Phoenix marketplace being able to help your clients and continue your business. And one thing would be, obviously, we may have agents all over the country listening to this, and if they have any clients that want to move to the Phoenix market and get out of cold and germy New York City, maybe they ought to talk to you. How would they get hold of you, Shawn?
Well, thank you, gentlemen. And I guess the easiest way, and again, another little joke I say, is my phone is traditionally always on. So feel free to call or text. That's 480-313-7031. And I'll give you my website. Traditionally, people don't forget it. It's been around for a while, but it's www. and then Mr. spelled out, M-I-S-T-E-R, Rogers, R-O-G-E-R-S, Homes, HOMES.com. And I'd be more than happy to not only obviously referrals and helping each other is a big part of the game plan. Again, teamwork I would be more than happy, John and James, if any of your clients or just agents in general had questions without beating again the dead horse. Many people move in different directions when things happen. And I believe a lot like perhaps sailing a boat. Sometimes it's just smooth across the lake, enjoy your cold beverage, and sometimes it's batten down the hatches and make sure the course you're plotting is proper. But when you're a professional in the business that we're in, you just learn how to adjust the sails. And that's just, there is no magic crystal ball. There is no magic wand. Again, I say it again, nobody's going to cheat the grind. When I'm asked all the time, how did I get to a certain level? Much like you, you work, you answer your phone, you do what you say and say what you do. And if you can do that, especially in this particular market, you'll find when the rain ends, the rainbow appears, you are actually the pot of gold that people are looking for, because ultimately they want answers and they want trust and they want to get moving. So that's what I try to do.
Well, that's great. Well, your success speaks for itself, and your words of wisdom are taken to heart, because clearly it's worked for you, and I think they would work for many agents all around the country. James, any last thoughts on your side?
Well, I just want to thank Shawn, obviously, for sharing his information. And there's a lot of agents out there that we've dealt with personally right now. This is the first time that they're facing this kind of adversity. So it's always great for them to look to people like you, who have the experience, who can provide that inspiration for them, but also a little bit of a game plan too, with how they can look at this, like you said, as an opportunity. So thank you for sharing that with us.
James, you're more than welcome, and you're right, because I remember not going back to the history of the world, but just going back to the crash of 2008. I don't even remember where the quote unquote term short sale came from. But then there it was. And, then there was schooling and technology, and people learned how to use social media or use a terminology or just dial in what exactly that meant. And now fast forward, I hope we never see a time frame like that again. But should it happen again, being short sales certified, REO certified, bank certified, if it happens, it's just another day at the park for us and just help the client. So I want to thank you, gentlemen, for always being there for us. And like I said, it's I know it takes teamwork, and I can never imagine to know what goes on behind the scenes over at Home ASAP. But I do know that when I need your help, you've been there, and that's a part of success for everybody. Ultimately, it should be about helping people, and I say it over and over. If you help, you're going to get when you give, and that's the best I can word it.
That's terrific. Well, thank you again, and it's been a pleasure serving you as a customer of ours, and we always want to ensure that you're getting the results that you're expecting from our services, and we know that you're an expert at what you do. We like to think that we know a lot about social media marketing on Facebook and can bring that expertise to you and make that a marketing channel for you to be successful in generating new clients and getting your home sold and bringing new buyers into your pipeline. So we thank you for your business, and we thank you for your time today and sharing your experiences, your observations, and your recommendations for all the agents who would listen today.
Again, you're both more than welcome. God bless, stay safe, and let's just keep doing what we do.
That's right. Thank you again.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.